Hi everybody, so today I want to talk about the worst moments in Mass Effect out of all three games. I'm going to be talking about Mass Effect 3 today. And no, don't worry, not going to talk about the ending. I feel that has been beaten to death at this point. Hey guys, have you heard that the ending of Mass Effect 3 isn't particularly good? Yes, you have? Okay, let's move on. Because Mass Effect 3, although it has a very, very bad ending, also has literally some of the best moments out of the entire trilogy, and some of its worst. And today I want to discuss one of these worst moments in Mass Effect. But first I'll just give a bit of context. Usually in most RPGs, think of Fallout New Vegas, think of Knights of the Old Republic, you're playing as someone of a blank slate, which means that the character they don't talk, they don't have much of a personality except from the dialogue options you can choose. A lot of them have amnesia because that's easier for writers. But what Mass Effect tried to do is they made Shepard like an already existing character in the universe. They gave him somewhat of a personality. But this was something that was not fully explored yet in Mass Effect 1 and 2. It was just kind of a mix between, you know, previous RPGs with the blank slate and giving Shepard the whole personality. It was kind of in between. That was mostly just because Mass Effect was one of the first big type of games that were to attempt this kind of approach to a main character. So Shepard really didn't have much of a personality in Mass Effect 1 and 2. It wasn't really, I think, explored enough, which they decided to change with Mass Effect 3. In Mass Effect 3 they have a lot more character moments where it's just about Shepard, what Shepard's feeling, you know, what he's experiencing. And these moments are kind of hit or miss. Let me just say, I'll start with the good bits first. The ideas they had to make Shepard a more interesting character are very good. What they tried to do, basically, is they tried to give Shepard PTSD. You know, it's something that I feel like hasn't been explored much in games, because in Mass Effect, Shepard has seen some shit. And I like the idea that they were trying to explore that Shepard really has a lot of weight on his shoulders. And he's struggling to deal with it, which I feel like gets left out of most big like role-playing or action games. It would be a very human and realistic approach to the subject. You know, in between shooting down Reapers and all that stuff, Shepard does feel quite sad, you know. I like that they were trying to explore that a little bit, because Shepard would be more of his personality of his own, and it would very much make sense. But the way that they try to implement his PTSD is very... I think it's the worst aspect of Mass Effect 3. Very good game overall, good moments, bad moments. I think this is probably the worst Mass Effect gets. So what they try to do is, in the opening of the game, you have this child who in a vent, and you know, Shepard can save him, which I feel like it is a very cheap way to get the player like emotionally invested or like empathetic, making it a child. I don't give a shit about children, come on. At least try to make it somewhat like a sympathetic situation. They just throw a child at you and expect you to be like, oh my god, it's a child, I feel so empathetic right now. They forgot you kind of do need to earn that. And then, surprise, surprise, the child fucking dies. He gets obliterated. He gets fucking nuked. And, you know, Shepard feels quite sad, which is understandable, you know. The thing is, like, what they really did with Mass Effect 3 is that at some point it kind of became a rift between Shepard and, you know, the player. Because I don't feel what Shepard is feeling. And if it's well explained what Shepard is feeling, I don't mind. I could go along for the ride. But what they tried to do was, they have this very real problem of PTSD, a very serious problem. And you know, someone like Shepard has seen a lot of things. It's very believable he has PTSD, and that's very sympathetic actually. But what they tried to do is, they tried to symbolize all the people he couldn't save with that stupid fucking child. And I don't fucking get it. Because the idea of it, the idea behind it is so good. Shepard, there has been many times throughout the trilogy now, where Shepard just, you know, he wasn't on time, so to say. He just couldn't save everybody. Even in Mass Effect 3, there's so many deaths, and I can totally understand why Shepard would feel so personally responsible for that. Also because of the guilt of, you know, leaving Earth and not staying in the thickest, in the trenches on Earth. It is such a good idea. But they try to, everyone he couldn't save is basically symbolized by the child, which I really, really don't get. Bioware is very good at writing, let me just say this. Overall, I think their games have very good writing. But who the fuck is this child? They introduce him at the start of Mass Effect 3, and suddenly he's become this big thing in Mass Effect. You know, Shepard feels so sad for it. Like, what happened? And the funny thing is, they had this big, giant opportunity. You know, in Mass Effect 1, you know, on Vermeer, when you had to sacrifice one of your squad mates, Kalian or Ashley, why not bring them back? It's kind of funny. I don't know if it was intentional, if I'm just missing something, but I can't understand. I cannot possibly get how they missed an opportunity this big. Just bring back whoever died on Vermeer. I don't particularly care for the person who died on Vermeer, but I can understand why Shepard would. You know, he still talks about Jenkins, I think, later on. Like, I mean, I think even in Mass Effect 2, Jenkins is still mentioned. And like, I can totally get why Shepard would feel sad for one of their crew members dying, you know, because he's the one in command. That is something that's very realistic. I don't personally, you know, am that emotionally invested in the person who died on Vermeer, but I can totally get why Shepard would be. Perfect situation. But then in Mass Effect 3, they decide to introduce this stupid fucking child who has nothing to do with Mass Effect, who's the first time he ever appears in these games, and this kid's supposed to be like very sad, and I'm supposed to feel sad now, but that's not how it works. And I think it's such a dumb decision. I cannot wrap my head around it. That's the funny thing. Because Bioware, I think generally, like Mass Effect 3, a lot of the like mediocre parts of it are just because of the time restraints. Like the ending, very much because of the time restraint that they were working with. But with Mass Effect 3, Bioware really shown signs that they sometimes really don't know what the fuck they're doing. Kai Lang. I don't know. I don't think EA dictated that Kai Lang, that they had this really stupid fucking ninja is supposed to be in the game. I think that's fully on Bioware. And I don't get if the Starchild is just a product of the time restraints, or one of the writers at Bioware upping nitrogen and thinking, yeah, let's go with this, let's fucking do this. And then, as an insult to injury, the child itself isn't even that bad, but they have these long, like, not even long, but these drawn out dream sequences where they just take a piece of a previous soundtrack, slow it down to bits, and have you walk around in slow motion chasing this stupid fucking child in some creepy fucking pedophile forest. I don't get it. It's so weird. It's like Shepard has nightmares. That's basically what they're trying to get at, you know, all the people you couldn't save, and then the child is a representation of that. Good ideas, so badly executed. It's such a boring gameplay section. You just chase this stupid fucking child in a forest very slowly, and nothing much happens. I'm pretty sure they bring back, like, they have like shots of Kaidan or Ashley. I think I don't know if it's just Mandela effect, if I'm remembering it incorrectly, but I'm pretty sure they did that. Why not just go all the way? Why introduce this child? He gets blown to bits like 5 minutes after he's introduced. Like, who cares? And if it seems like I'm invested, it's because I am. Bioware has such good writing. They have such genius levels of stories in their games, of, you know, provoking emotional responses from players. I fucking cried when I finished Mass Effect 3, you know, stuff like that. And then they have such actually bad writing, like with the Starchild. And it's not even the fact that it's a child in itself. I think they just did that, as I said, to like make it easier for the player to get some sort of empathetic response. But it kind of failed because it did nothing for me. But it's just fully badly executed. I think that kind of covers it. Just the PTSD, very good idea, very interesting. I wish they'd explore that further. the way they did it, very bad. That's just what I said about Mass Effect. It has some of the best moments in the trilogy and some of its worst. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you agree. If you've played the games, you'll have known what I'm talking about. The thing is, it's probably not even the worst moment in like gaming or whatever, but in a series with such moments as Mass Effect, with is generally very consistently good. Something like this child really sticks out as a sore thumb because it's just so noticeably lacking compared to some of the, even in Mass Effect 3, some parts which are so incredibly good that people still talk about it today. But yeah, thanks for watching. Goodbye.